Hello and welcome back everyone to our third episode of our Zero to Hero challenge on our Holy Priest. Now I will say, even with our best efforts, we unfortunately did not make it to 2500 before the drop of the next patch. Just with things popping up in my life and the amount of time that it takes me to edit these videos, we weren't going to make it before patch 4, but not a big deal. There is a few things though I did want to talk about in this video concerning the Holy Priest and kind of the challenge and how I think things went. So for those that were looking forward to me getting to the end and kind of seeing how it turned out, I apologize for not being able to finish. And before we get started, remember to like and subscribe to the channel to continue to see similar content to what I've been putting out, especially going into Season 4, where I have a lot of things that I'm excited about and stuff planned for the future content. So stay tuned for all that coming in this next season. Alright, now for my final thoughts on Holy Priest and my opinions on how I think this challenge went, even though we failed and did not succeed. Alright, so first off, the overall playability of Holy Priest. In my opinion, I think Holy Priest has been the easiest healer to jump in and just start playing and healing and feeling good about the overall healing that you're doing inside of a key. This is by far probably the best new player friendly healer class. Now don't get me wrong, for all of those Holy Priest players out there that play at a higher skill level, there still is a lot of depth to this class, but at face value, if a new player were to jump in and start playing a healer, this is probably the easiest one to pick up and simply just be able to heal without thinking too much about what they're doing. And this is also coming from the opinion of someone who has just played it in keys. I have not been doing any raiding on this character at all whatsoever. And not just for healing, but it also has a very simple DPS rotation as well. Because, you know, in this day and age, if you're playing a healer, you need to make sure that you are doing as much damage as possible, because in the long run it helps out, makes the key go by quicker, so you can time those keys. It is very easy to cycle in those Shadow Word Pains and Smites and Holy Fires while you're keeping your party alive, and you can do a decent amount of damage. And then Holy Priests are range healers, so obviously you can stand at a range and just avoid all of those basic melee attacks and dodges and stuff. So just playing as a caster, it's just a little bit easier for mechanics. Now, throughout my gameplay, I never had an issue with mana. When it came to starting on the Shaman, I was mana drained constantly all the time playing the Resto Shaman. But with the Holy Priest, I felt like I could just constantly be healing, be doing damage, and I never really had an issue with mana. Occasionally, sure, I would sit down, get a drink of water to top my mana off, but I never felt like I was constantly going and feeling like I was slowing down the party because I had a drink or something like that. Now, I did have some stressful moments where there was a lot of trash going into a boss pull or something like that, where I did have to pump and constantly heal, and I did lose a lot of mana, but again, I still felt like the throughput on my healing on top of how much mana was getting consumed was a really good level, and it just never felt like a problem. Now let's talk a little bit about utility. In comparison to other healer classes, I think Holy Priest, and maybe Priest in general, this is like my biggest turnoff, is they don't have a whole lot of utility. I understand they do have some, but in comparison to the other classes, it's very lacking. Holy Priests do not have a kick, they do not have a battle res. They do have a stun that you can get off of cooldown very quickly by using Smite. However, a stun is different because sometimes you can't stun every single mob. So it is good that you have that ability to do so, but again, a stun is a little bit different than a kick. And nor do you have any kind of knock-up or knockback. Priests, however, do have a fear that you can use as an interrupt, but I would put that on kind of more your advanced level of playstyle than your basic playstyle. Your brand new player or low keystone player is not going to be using fear to interrupt mobs and stuff like that, but it is a possibility, and it does add a little bit more depth into your class, and you can improve with using the utility that way rather than some of the other options that are given. So again, your more advanced player is going to play the class to a higher level using some of these utilities that the average player probably wouldn't use, but at face value, comparing it to all the other healer classes which I played, which are pretty much most of them, they have the least amount of utility. And if you think I'm wrong, and you think this is a bad take, hey, let me know in the comments and tell me why I'm wrong and why you think that there's another class that might have a little bit less utility than the Holy Priest. So I would say pugging with a Holy Priest has probably been the hardest, because there is those certain things that I look out for that I can't do myself, like getting boss kicks or getting those stuns. Things that hurt me the most as a healer, that if your DPS or your tank don't get, that I could just get normally playing a shaman or playing my Holy Paladin, but the things that I have to rely on my team for to get, it's been a little bit harder when you're playing with inexperienced players, ranking up and doing pugs with zero communication and stuff like that. So as far as that goes, that's kind of my opinion when it comes to the Holy Priest and pugging and comparing it to those other classes. And then this kind of plays into utility, but just the overall maneuverability of the Holy Priest is very low. Comparing it to obviously a druid or a shaman or a monk, you're very slow. The only movement ability you have is your feathers, and they're kind of meh. They're not the greatest, but it's better than nothing. And I would say it's pretty close to, if not on par with, like a Holy Paladin and their steed, but that's about it. Alright, now we're going to move on to just overall enjoyment and fun of playing the class. And before I give you guys my opinion, in the comments below, let me know what makes a healer fun to you. What is your favorite, most fun healing class and why? But for those that have seen my previous shaman video, I kind of have the same opinion about the shaman as I do the Holy Priest. I enjoy healing altogether. I think healing is fun. It has a lot of different layers and stuff that you can do, a lot of skills that you can grow into, but Holy Priest, like the rest of Shaman, I just never felt like there was any button that I was excited to push that I thought was really fun, really enjoyable. It was just kind of all less to be desirable. Most of the time, I'm just casting Prayer of Mending and Flash Heal, and then just trying to get my holy words off of cooldown by, again, casting Flash Heal and whatnot. So out of all the healers that I play, which one do I find the most fun? It's going to be my main, the Holy Paladin, which is obviously why it's my main. So why do I think it's the most fun? Well, first reason being, very simple one, it's melee. I like being in melee. I like being close up and just standing right next to the tank and doing all the mechanics right there. I think it's enjoyable to do that. Some of you might disagree. Again, this is just an opinion. Second is Holy Paladin has tons of cooldowns. You have so many different options to approach different scenarios, so it's fun to be able to kind of determine which one you want to use at a certain time. When it comes to Holy Priest, we have Apotheosis and Guardian Spirit, and that's really it when it comes to those big major cooldowns. And then we just talked about it as well. Holy Paladin has tons of utility that you can utilize and just feel like you can get those clutch moments in. Not that you can on any other class, but I feel like you can have those moments a little bit more often. Like, I'm not taking the talent right now on the Holy Priest, but have you guys ever seen one of your allies get knocked off a cliff or knocked off a ledge or knocked in some direction where they shouldn't be, and you get that last second life grip on them and pull them in? Those are those clutch moments I'm talking about that are super fun, super enjoyable. You just feel really good about yourself when you're done with it. So I think with the less utility and less cooldowns that a class has, the less of those really cool moments you can have on a normal basis. But when it does come to Holy Paladin or to Druid, when you have these classes that have a lot of cooldowns, you also get a lot of button clutter as well. And on my Holy Priest, there's not too many buttons in a Mythic Plus build that you really have to push. Now again, when it comes to my high skill level Holy Priest players that are watching this that probably disagree with many of the things that I have to say, this is kind of more of a first impression kind of a deal. But I understand there is a lot more skill and a lot more things that you can do that I haven't really touched on. You guys have left tons of comments of tips and tricks in the past couple videos saying how I should approach different things or how I should do different things. So I do understand that there is a lot more technical things that you can do with the Holy Priest that I just don't have the skill level yet while playing this class. And then maybe not even the skill level, but just the necessity of needing to do those things when you're in kind of these lower mid-tier keys compared to pushing a plus 20 and above, where some of these things are required to do for your survival or for your team survival. Alright guys, I know I didn't give this class enough justice. I would have really liked to at least taken it into a plus 20 key to really kind of push the limits of the toolkit. But my final thoughts are that this is an excellent starting point to really getting into healing and healers in general, just based off of the initial simplicity of the class. But as far as the overall gameplay goes, I really think it needs to add some more things in to make it engaging, but not necessarily making it harder to play. Alright guys, and that is pretty much it. Let me know what you think in the comments below, if you agree or disagree with all the stuff that I had to say today. Once again, I apologize for not being able to finish, but you know, the patch just came sooner than expected, which I'm happy about though. But we did end up at a ending score of 1870, and we'll be back next patch with new content ready to go. So I'm excited to guys see you there, and I'll see you guys in the next one.